Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and share my page. Alright, so first thing, I should unfreeze it. We have our calendar, just so you know that the only project that we're going to be working on this week is going to be your Photoshop project, and crazy enough, it is going to be your last Photoshop project. Okay, we're jumping into Illustrator next week on the 5th, so just be ready for it. It's very fast-paced. The tutorial I'm going to show you today shows you a lot of what you're going to be needing, I think, in Photoshop. I actually did it for the first time today, and it's probably one of the best tutorials I've seen in a while, because it shows you how to do a lot of things in a short amount of time, which is my favorite. I'm all about using my time wisely. I don't want to do 7 different tutorials to find out how to do one thing in each tutorial. But first, I'm going to talk about turn-in projects. So when we submit a project, so this is our first one, I think we kind of had some trouble. There's always a working file. So if we're in Photoshop, your working file would be your .psd, your Photoshop file. You'll always export out as a JPEG file, and then your works cited page, usually Word document, is fine. So if we were in Illustrator, for example, in here in a couple weeks, your working file would be your Illustrator file, which is .ai. Okay, because I have to be able to get in there and see what you've actually done, that I can't tell if it's just a JPEG image from the internet. With your Photoshop file, the reason I have you do a JPEG also is sometimes when I open up your JPEG file, it's going to jumble stuff up. If I don't have the font that you had, or some reason it's saying you're missing an image, I can then refer back to your final JPEG to see what it was supposed to look like. Okay, that's why it's important to have both. Okay, so, and also if I open it up on my Mac for some reason at home, and it's for some reason your PC settings are different, it's going to move things around. But at least I can look at your layers and see what's else is going on, and then refer to the JPEGs for the aesthetics part. So you'll always be submitting 3 files unless I say otherwise. Okay, and just to submit them, you know, sometimes I say zip the file, but there's no real need to do that right now. They're not that large a file, and it's a lot easier for me to grade it if it's just 3 files in that turn-in folder. So, and it's okay if you forget one, you can go back in and resubmit. It shows me that you've submitted resubmitted something, so I can see all the files that you resubmit. So if you go back to today and you saw a 0 for your assignment, and I wrote something at the bottom like you're missing JPEG file, you're missing the Photoshop file, please reload whatever I'm missing before Friday, and then I'll regrade that without penalty. Now, if you didn't turn anything in at all, you will still continue to have the 0. So you need to make sure that you're turning in things on time. Like I talked about last week, deadlines are very important when you're in the media field, and there's no ifs, ands, and buts. There's no late work. Okay, I understand there's sometimes stances where something may happen, but you need to communicate with me so I know what's going on. Don't wait till Sunday night to do your project. Okay, a lot of these, like this project that we're going to go over right now, it'll take you a while. So make sure you plan time. Like I said, on last Monday, we meet here on Mondays from 6 to 8. I would plan in your schedule that another day in the week that you sit down for that amount of time also. Okay, since we only meet here once. Okay, so put it in your schedule like it's a class. So if you don't do it like it's a class, you're not going to do it. So pick another day, say from 6 to 8 or whatever time, 1 to 3 on Tuesdays is your other part 2 of this class. Because you have to be able to go through those modules and watch the videos. It does take a little bit of time. It's not going to be something that you can just throw together last minute. Photoshop is a complex program, and we're just going to be barely touching the important parts, but with your tutorials that you're going to be doing, and I think the modules, completing the modules, you have a better idea before you go into Web 1 or Web 2 or AV or whatever what strand you're in. But I want to go ahead and talk about the Photoshop project first, and then after that we're going to go in and do the tutorial that I sent you a link to. But first I'm going to show you the project. So if you go into your Photoshop project in the module, I did activate some more modules if you want to get ahead of the game. I did activate some more to show you. So if you come in here to Photoshop project, it's called Movie Mashup. So I have it here that you're going to be doing a movie poster. It's 11 by 17 and 300 DPI, and I'm going to show you how to set that up here right now. So you're going to be mashing two movies together. So for example, I have some here. I'm going to go into my Photoshop. You would say File, New. I'm going to come in here. I'm going to change it to inches because I like to work in inches better than anything else. My width would be 11, and my height would be 17. Down here for resolution, it says 240. I'm going to change it to 300. That's your DPI, okay? And I'm going to say Create. It's going to look like a longer poster style picture. So that's what everything needs to go into. All right, so you start bringing in your images. You're going to have a lot of layers when it comes to your movie mashup. I'm going to pull up one that we did. I think I did this one last year. This is where we combined, not two movies, we did Parks and Rec and, what's this, the other one? What? We're the Millers, thank you. And so, depending on what two movies or a movie and a TV show that you decide to do, you may start out with a background of one actual video, like the movie poster, and then add stuff to it. Or you may have to kind of create everything from scratch. Just really depends on what you decide to do. So I'm going to try to come in here and hide some of these layers so you can see where we started. As you can see, there's a bunch of layers. They are all named. That's very important. That's part of your rubric, is getting in that habit of naming your layers, because when you get this many layers, you're going to go crazy if you do not have. Okay, so this was the original. I think that they probably took this and they saved it. I think they took this first and saved it, so there was actually another image before that where I went in and took like a black paintbrush and kind of covered up the text here, and then I covered up the text down here because I wanted to add my own. Okay, so then you start adding in some of the text. They have the logo, and kind of adding in the text would be the next step. If you want to look at other movie posters for that bottom part, you know what I'm talking about? Sometimes they have like the rated R or something, the text down there at the bottom, just to make it look a little bit more like a movie poster, or put a coming soon across the poster, just so it makes it look more like a movie poster. So let me add the text back in. So here's the text so far. I feel like there's more text. Okay, so now what I had to do is come in and select the people's heads and place it on the other people, because we want the Parks and Recs people and not We Are the Millers people. So I opened up the picture for, where am I at? So many layers. So it's Andy here. So what I did was I had it on another page. It's open. On another page, and I selected out using the selection tools and brought it in. So it's a free-floating head here. Okay. I probably had to do Control-T. That's your transform. All right. So you can kind of see it. If it came in a little large, I had to come in here and then Control-T, which transform, or Command-T, depending if you have a Mac. And then I had to scale it down so it was proportionally correct to, I think I need to go a little smaller, but anyways. Then, as you can see, his face is kind of cutting off this girl's face. So when you place it over, the layers are going to be important because those layers are actually on top. So then he does look behind. Now, if I would put her head, let me drag it down here. Underneath Andy, you can see how that looks weird because his head's now over his head. So you got to really remember your layers play a part in it. So you know, you're so used to saying like objects in the back or arranged in the back. Your layers are your orders. Okay, so where you have April here, I want April above Andy, so it doesn't. He's in the back of the picture, so it makes more sense that his face is in the back of the picture. Now with lighting, okay, you're going to bring in images that are not going to look right. Okay, especially like for here, if the color pigment is a little off. Leslie, right? Okay, so if I click on Leslie here and I go to image adjustments, I might go to that brightness and contrast to kind of see if I can pull something out just to blend her in with the skin of, what's her name? Rachel from Friends. Please help me out. Jennifer Aniston, thank you. Okay, so you might have a challenge to blend it in, so you might have to use some of your image adjustments and kind of play with those. There's so many different image adjustments that just click on it and see what it does. I mean, all you can do is undo, okay, because that's the only way you're going to know how these filters work and what works best for what you're working on. We're going to go over with the tutorial. I'm going to show you how to use the filters that are over here in your layers, and you can see how that will help with bringing in objects today. It's basically going to be using your selection tools to make sure you can select objects and bring it in. Okay. Second thing is going to be working with your text. Okay. Text is important. Text should match your video. Okay. If you have a scary movie, your font should look scary. It shouldn't be cursive. All right. I'm a font freak. All right. If you're at home, use the font. Okay. It's one of my favorites. You can't download fonts here, sadly. But you can download fonts. Just be careful if you're doing something professional with anything. You have to be careful that the font that you're using is not just for personal use. Okay, so if you're working professionally, you have to be careful if you can sort by that into font, making sure that they're copyright free. So text can be just like images. You have to cite them if they're not for personal use. Okay, but there's a lot of text out there that are free and you do not have to worry about citing them or paying someone to use it. All right. Kind of makes sense. We're doing a movie mashup. The hardest part is coming up with two movies that make sense together, because you try to make a play off the words for the title. All right, just don't put like Batman, Spider-Man. All right, try to come up with something clever to mix. It doesn't even have to be the, we're the Parks and Department. It could have been something not even with we're the Millers and Parks and Rec. Okay, it could be something totally different as long as I could tell what two shows I'm looking for. These usually turn out really well, but you just have to take your time on them and to kind of look. I honestly would go to Google and search movie mashups and see what other people have done and then go from there. Do not copy one from there, but you can get inspired by like, oh, I like that idea. I can use that one or that one and kind of brainstorm and break it out. Today we're going to be looking on how to do masks, and that's how you bring in images and don't damage them. Okay, so if I wanted to use an image and I bring it into another image, I do a clipping mask or a mask. So if I mess up on that mask, I could just delete the mask and I still have my original photo. Okay, and that's also a smart object. You'll probably hear that language back and forth when you're using Photoshop a lot. And it's about not damaging your images, okay? Because sometimes that's the only copy you have, and if you decide to delete all the image except for, this person's head, and then you realize, oh, I need the whole body, well, if you didn't do it with a mask, then you're kind of out of luck. You have to go find that image again, bring it in, if you still have it. Sometimes if you're working with professional photos and you're the only one that has the photos, and then you save over that photo, then you're kind of out of luck. All right, so what we're going to be doing right now is I'm going to go over the tutorial with you. If you go ahead and log in and to your email, there should be a link in the email and also a folder with all the files that you need. Did anyone not get it? Oh, sorry, Canvas email inside Canvas? Okay. Sorry, I use Canvas for everything because I cannot figure out the Alamo College's email system with 7,600 emails a day. If you do not download the files from your emails, you can also download them from the website. The zip file. That will be a zipped file with all the files that you will need in it. I've been in Photoshop for a gazillion years, about 20 years, and I learned about 5 new things in this tutorial today. I was mind blown. I made my students do it. Things are getting easier and easier with new features in Photoshop. Once you get the file, so I know that you're kind of ready, you go ahead and open up that Peer JPEG inside Photoshop. That's going to be step 1. That means you'll have to download the image, go to Photoshop and say file open here. Get it? When the file open, we'll choose a Peer picture. Click on the file and say open. While you get time. We have to unzip it first. This is the zip file. Right, so also go file open to Sunset. So the file open Sunset. So you should have two tabs at the top. The orange one, yes, those are exactly right. So you should have two tabs now at the top of your page. One is up here, and the other tab is going to be your sunset sky. The file open. And it's open. And then here. So basically we're going to here. Basically we're going to be going into your sunset sky image. We're going to select the top. So we're in your sunset sky one. You're going to go to select all. And then you're going to go to edit copy. So I'm going to select all, edit copy, and then I'm going to go over to my peer tab and go to edit paste. If you know the shortcuts, you can use the shortcuts. All right, from there, what I'm going to do is actually rename my layer 1 to Sunset. Get in the habit of renaming your layers as soon as you can. Right, in your layers palette, you should see where it says opacity. So right where we renamed the sunset, we're going to change the opacity down to, just say like 60%. It's going to be temporarily. We just want to see through it. So in your layers palette, on the right, there's an opacity, and we're going to change the opacity on the sunset layer to about 50 to 60%. Just so we can see through it temporarily. Anyone not see the opacity? All right, now with my move tool, that's the very top tool, I am going to make sure I'm selected on the sunset, and I'm going to drag it up until you see horizon to horizon, okay? So if you drag it up, you're going to see it a little bit better, that there's horizon to horizon. Once you've done that, you can turn up your volume again. So it looks like that. So I dragged it up so the horizons match. So if I dim it, my layer down, you can see that my horizons match, so I had to drag it up. And then I just returned it to 100%. Okay, now what we're going to be doing is going to be our first mask. Down here at the bottom is your mask, your layer mask. If you click on that, it will bring a little white box next to your image. Okay? So you'll click on the image mask. It's right here. Looks like a square with a circle. Alright, it should pop up a little white box next to your layer. Again, you're clicking that button right there, and it'll pop up a layer mask. Now we're going to go to your gradient tool. Your gradient tool is about midway down. You might see your paint bucket tool on top. You're looking for your gradient tool. It looks like a square, and it goes from dark to light. It's underneath your paintbrush tool. I'm sorry, you're not paintbrush tool, your paint bucket tool. Everyone see the gradient tool? Anyone need help finding the gradient tool? Okay. Alright, so with the gradient tool and a mask. So if you think about your mask as white is reveal, black is hide. So we're going to be using black and white today a lot. So black to hide, white to show. So if you click on the top part up here, we're going to choose the gradient that says black to white. So at the very, very top in your option bar, if you click on it, it should have the gradient editor. So up here at the top, click on it, gradient editor, and you're going to choose that third one. And say OK. It might have already been default on that one. So with your gradient tool selected at the top, you should be able to choose a black and white gradient. Anyone not see that? Okay, are you on the gradient tool?
Yes.
All right, so now we're going to use the gradient tool, but we're only going to use it like this much. Okay, we're going to click and drag up. So put your pointer at the horizon, hold down shift, and drag up like a smidge. So I'm going to hold down shift so my line is straight. I'm going to click on my horizon and drag up. And it uses the gradient on it to delete the bottom part of the water. Anyone fantastic? Yay! Anyone need help? Okay? Yeah, but I was like mind blown to that one. I was like, all right, that's cool. All right, makes it super fast. And to know you knew it right, if you look at your white box, you should see the black covering the bottom. Anyone not see the black covering the bottom? Yes.
Dude, Nicole, what are you doing, man? I'm telling you, I think I'm going
Closer to one of these. Like this one, the second to last one. Initially, we should control these. Okay. So here, no,
How far up do you go?
No, just to the right, where you're getting rid of the water. Let me check my what am I on? I'm on the first one. And this one looks like. And what's the check? Now try to go in the middle. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Okay. So yeah, that's what you're doing. It's okay. Click there. Click on that one. Click on this first one. Click right here and straight up. Click on the oh, I see way down. So you can go on one of the and then your screen mode is here. Normal. I just go on. Anybody else with that one? Alrighty. So that is one way to do a mask using a gradient. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is go to File, Place, Embedded. File, Place, Embedded. File, Place, Embedded. And you're going to go to the north image. It should look something like this. And the first thing we're going to do is shrink it down. So hold down Shift, so it's proportionate, and shrink it down. And then I'm going to slide it to the middle of the pier. It actually be placed on the pier itself, the wooden part. And then in your blending modes, where it says normal in your layers, you're going to say overlay. Okay, so you see how it kind of got rid of some of that background. So over in your layers tab, normally it will say normal, and you're going to click on it and drag down to overlay. These are your layer styles. Anyone not see that part? Alright, the next thing we're going to do is go to image. I'm sorry. We got to say check mark. Yay, we like that transform. If we haven't already. You're going to go to edit, transform, distort. Edit, transform, distort. You should get boundary boxes up that you're going to be able to manipulate and move. So I'm going to be able to grab this corner and drag it to that corner. This corner and drag it to this corner. Again, that's under edit, distort, once you're happy with it, hit return or enter. Now, I'm going to over-exaggerate it over here on the side. So say I still have some of that overlay file that I want to get rid of. Okay, it's on the edge. With that, I can click on the clipping mask, okay, or the layer mask. And I'm going to come over here to my paintbrush. Okay, depending on what I want to do, add or subtract. I want to subtract, so I'm using black as my paintbrush. I can click along here and get rid of what I don't want to be seen. Right now my opacity is not at 100%, so I probably need to bring that up. But you can see how I can come in here and kind of manipulate some of that extra overlay if I don't want to have it on there. Okay? That's how we're painting with your black and white paintbrush on a layer mask. And you can see over in the white square that you've done something. On that one, technically, I really didn't need to do it, but in the video it does show you to edit that. Paintbrush is in your tool bar, probably midway down. But you need to put the mask on first. And then you're going to go ahead it. Right corner. Now you're going to be able to look okay? You just need to put flop your white black. Because you're going to paint with black, and then you can kind of cut the middle. Okay, so your paintbrush, paint with black, and then come in here and you just paint with black, and it's going to erase that. Yeah, you're good. So then just go along the edge. Keep on the end. Then you keep on the end. Yeah.
So you can use your black.
Still light. Nice to know it's still light. Maybe just keep it.
And I use this one. I use this. I use this one just because it has a better effect. So it's like really whenever you're trying to think about each person, and you can use it like
Again, when you first do this, I've done it. This is my third time today. I've gotten better each time. So repetition does help them. So if you want to go back to this, I will have it in the link for the website, or you can just do one part of it. Since you have the files, it's not that bad. So the next one is we're going to be bringing in the next images. So what we're going to do is go to File, Place Embedded, Door. I'm going to go ahead and shrink it up just a smidgen. And I'm also going to turn down the opacity so I can kind of line it up with the pier. And I'm going to align, I don't know if you can see it or not. In the door there's like a glass pane. At the bottom of the glass pane, I kind of put the end of the pier. I don't know if that makes sense. But again, it doesn't really matter. We can kind of go with the flow. All right, as long as it's centered near the pier, you're good. I'm going to change the opacity back up to 100%. And I'm going to hit the check mark at the top so I can manipulate. Okay, I don't know how many times I still forget to hit the check mark, and I can't figure out why I can't do anything. If you can't click on stuff, it's because you forgot to hit the check mark. And I still do it to this day. I'm like, why can't I say that? Why can't I do something else? Why won't it let me select something? It's because I haven't hit the check mark. Okay, so go ahead and turn back up, your opacity back up to 100%, because we're going to use the selection tool, a quick selection tool. That's what we used last week, and we're going to select just the red brick. So make sure you're on the door layer. Make sure it's on the plus. Okay, and I'm going to select the brick, red brick. If it jumps out, it's okay because we can come in here and we can add to it or subtract to it. So again, I'm using the quick selection tool and clicking around on the red brick area. Okay, so now there's some areas where I need to go in and subtract because I went too far. So right here, in the column, you subtract because it kind of jumped it in some of the sides. Sometimes you're going to need to change the size of your brush so it fits in those smaller holes, or zoom in. Command Control plus. Oh, Mac to PC, Mac to PC. So once you have all the red brick selected, I'll wait till I see everyone have red brick selected. We're going to do a different kind of layer mask. So I'm using the quick selection tool and adding in the red brick area. Anyone have any issues with the red brick, selecting the red brick? Okay, so use the quick selection tool. That's the paintbrush with the little whoop thing. And make sure that you're on the plus. Sometimes it automatically switches back to the minus right when you start working with it, so you have to go back to the plus. Yeah, check off those two. So yeah, now come in here, make sure you have the plus. Put on the brick. Okay, got it. So make sure the two things at the top are checked. One is like sample all layers, so you're zoom in. Sometimes it doesn't work. Okay, go ahead and turn up your basket back in here. Alright, we'll hit check mark yay. The quick selection tool is just underneath that basket. And then you have to click on those two buttons. And then click the red brick. And you click the
Yeah.
So, no. I'm just click once here, and let go. Click once here, and it still acts. So then you know that without jumping so much. And then unless you want to get clears, I come in here and change the brush size. Okay? Okay, then you go to the minus. Okay. Those are like right here, you see where it jumps a little bit, the shadows. We might need to add it back. Command D, Control D, I'm sorry. You're going to say Command D, Control, right? That's that window. I just deselect it, so there's all one. So now I'm going to have my plus ready. I'm going to click once, click twice. And that is letting go, so you don't have to worry about like keeping the mouth down. Alright, if you're ready at this point, we're going to do a different kind of cookie mask. You're going to hold down Alt on your keyboard and click the mask button. Hold down Alt on the keyboard and click the mask button. Once you have it selected. Voila!
Yeah, I can see why they littered clouds all over the package.
Yeah. Alright, you hold down the Alt button and click on that little square, the circle thing, the mask and the layer thing. I'm sorry, I keep saying it too many times. Hold down Alt and click on it.
Okay, I'll just get it this one.
Well, does it sound like this? That's the curve. And then what over the minus? Oh, I just minus. Has been selected. And you just make the selection tool and then direct you to like it's blue blood. When I was out key, okay, go ahead and undo it, PNB, the B, and actually was return to the
All right, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to be selecting the door itself. So I'm going to hit Control plus and zoom in to my door. I'm going to go to my rectangle marquee, which is the second tool down. You might have a circle marquee at the top. It looks like a square with dotted lines. And I'm actually going to come up to the arch where it starts to bend, okay, because I'm going to go all the way up until it starts to bend. I'm going to click and drag down. And you can get some of the white part in the selection so you don't see the door. So once you have your rectangle, we're going to get the circle marquee, and we're going to add to the selection. So in order to add the selection, I'm going to go to my elliptical marquee, and in your option toolbar, there's one that looks like it's two shapes together. I'm going to click on the two shapes together. I personally hold down Shift. I'm going to come around. Shift makes it even. Okay, if I hold the space bar, I'm still able to move it a little bit. Once I'm satisfied with that, that takes a little bit. It joins those two shapes together.
And I came up the dot to like here, and you draw the rectangle. So, when we have the shape, we'll show that. it's underneath the square. And then you make sure you hit the second one, where you make the images, and then it should join them together.
I hate that it moves that out. I hate that, like, I'll click here and it'll set here, there's no shift, but like, you will start from the
I use the space bar a lot.
Well, for me, the space bar is
While you're in the ellipse mode?
yeah.
So you have to be making the shape. Like, lay down the space bar.
Okay.
Now let's go space bar. Push it go down, up, down. Okay. Good. Now I don't remember what you add back in. Okay, I think I remember. Is it Alt backspace? Alt backspace. Alt backspace. It adds it to your clipping mask on that layer. You can add to that. Hold on, space bar. So we can shift your circle. You can use it. How we use it. So we're putting your X, right? Now we're on the space bar. And you just move it. So you never start right where there's a go to the space bar. You drag it. Okay? And then hit Alt and backspace. Just these beautiful windows. This is an Alt on the keyboard. And backspace is there. Look at that. Alt and backspace. Alrighty, we're moving and shaking now. I'm going to go to my brush, my paintbrush over here. I'm going to make sure that there's nothing selected. So I'm going to hit Control D, which is deselect. So make sure there's nothing selected randomly on your file. And I'm going to click once over to the left of, what do you want to call this, doorway area. I'm going to click once and let go. But the most important thing is that you have black and white as your colors. So I'm going to do this a few times. So I'm going to click once. I'm going to let go. I'm going to come across here. I'm going to hold down Shift and click again. It makes a straight line path for cutting off. I didn't know that either. I learned that today. So again, I'm going to redo that. I have my paintbrush. I have it a pretty large size. I'm going to click on one side of the doorway. It doesn't look like anything happened. I'm going to drag my mouse to the other side of the doorway, hold down Shift and click, and it draws a straight line across that horizon area. So it's easier for me to now erase that bottom half.
Hold on, so it's, should we not be on the layer map? And then this, back.
Okay, oh, it's your colors. Your shoes is black. First top one is black. That's right. So click one to one side, So you're trying to do, this one's right here. So you're trying to do the horizon. So your bottom of your circle should be like go down, right there. Yeah. The blue. Let go. Hold that shit. There you go. And then you're going to erase that bottom half. So you're going to be using the same paintbrush tool because you're going to have your black and you're going to paint with black and it's going to erase it. Okay? Make sure it's at 100% so you don't have any loose marks. And I didn't get it right at the horizon, so I'm going to come up here and kind of blend it up into the horizon. But again, because I'm a slight perfectionist. Anyone need help with that step? Okay. Make sure you have a black foreground and a white background. There, right? The door there. We're going to go with big brush. Make sure this is black and white. That's right. Okay. And then we'll have a shift. So I don't know why you can do this, but now I can come in here and paint and get rid of it. And all the way up to the horizon. Woo! Get rid of the doorway. And then go ahead and keep the black on here so it's really like that. Yeah, the bottom part. So you should just have the doorway above the It's not connecting. Because you have to be closer to it. I get
What high school did you go to? Everything works. So one kind of Okay, that's fine. All right, so now that I have this done, what is the next step? Oh, we're going to add clouds in by the pier. So you're going to go to File, Place Embedded,
And this one's you're going to look for clouds for pier. Should look something like this. I'm going to go ahead and turn down my opacity so I can kind of see. If you see the center, there's a little plume of cloud right here in the center. It should kind of go through your doorway. All right. If it's not a big deal. All right. I turned down the opacity so I could tell where my clouds are. Again, to each their own. Once you're satisfied with your placement of your clouds for the pier, go ahead and turn it all the way up. Now I forget how to do this one. Hit the check mark. And hold down Alt and click on that lovely layer mask button, our favorite layer mask button. It went completely black. That's normal.
Okay.
Okay? If it went away, it's normal. That's what we want to do. Because what we're going to do now is take our paintbrush and paint with white. So that we're going to say, what we want to see. So I'm going to go to my paintbrush. I'm going to flip-flop my colors because right now I have black as my foreground. So I have white on top and black on the bottom. And I'm going to come in here. I would choose your brushes wisely. I do the hardness about 50%. And you can deal with whatever size. And I'm going to come in here and start clicking around the pier. And when we paint with white, it's going to bring in that image in. Now, I'm pretty rough in the beginning because I'm going to go back in and paint with black. Honestly, this was like my worst part of the whole thing. When my artistic abilities were not. Okay. Now that I painted with white, I'm going to go back to my black because I want to erase some of this part that's in here with blue. But I'm going to change my opacity down a little bit so it blends a little better. So now, the nice thing about clipping masks is if you don't like it, you paint back with white. If you don't like it, you paint with black. Okay, so it takes a little bit of getting used to. You probably have to change the brush sizes a little bit in order to kind of get what you want. This one took me a couple times today to get to like where I liked it. So again, I brought in that image. I then hold down Alt and clicked on my layer mask, and the picture went completely away. And then I went to my paintbrush and painted in with white to show what I wanted. Then after that, I started painting with my black brush because I had some areas where it went too far because I do not have a steady hand. Areas where we want, okay? And then if you get too much, you can do over here, flip off and throw it back. And everything, okay? Okay. Let's turn back your passage so you can see what's going on. Yes.
normally I would turn down the passage. Then I'm going to hold up, okay, now with my paintbrush, I'm going to flip it off, I'm going to flip it white, which means I can come in here and add. Okay, so there's an area that I don't like, I flip off and pull it back, and I can erase it. Okay? Beautiful. Beautiful. Got it? Okay. You got this part so far. What you need to do is just flip flop your colors. The white is here on top because we're painting with white. So I come in here and add those areas. And say if I don't like an area, I'm going to flip flop those colors back from black areas. Got it? Okay. Everything. Stripes again. Beautiful. Check mark. Now hold on Alt-Key. Look all the layers. Go completely away. With your paintbrush, flip off your colors. Now come in here and you'll be able to paint around it here. Okay. Now for your parts you don't like, you're going to just flip flop your colors back to black and you erase them there. Okay. For a while. They kind of to each their own. How soggy do you want it to be? All right, the next step that we're going to be doing is going to File, Place Embedded, Clouds for Sky. Just because we like clouds, I guess. It's a cloudy day. And hit Place. Okay, I'm going to slide it up so it's at the horizon mark. So I just slid my clouds up to the horizon mark. I want to see the correct numbers here. There's another one I learned today. 113, 185. Okay. So now that we have it where we want it on the horizon, I'm going to check mark, because you're not going to be able to do anything if you haven't hit the check mark yet, or enter. I'm going to double click on my layer, not on the words, to the right of the layer in the gray box, and it brings up your layer style box. So inside that layer, the clouds for sky layer, I double click, you have a layer box, and at the bottom you should see where it says blend it. Blend it. On the right hand or left hand side, the darker side, the shadows, we're going to click on it and drag it to about 113. You're going to start seeing that blue disappear in your picture if you have the preview checked. Okay, if you don't get it right on 113, it's no big deal. I can sometimes get it and sometimes I don't, as long as it's close. Now I'm going to hold down Alt and click on it and drag. Come on, click on it. Oh, come on. There it goes. Maybe just click once. And I'm now going to separate these to go to 185. So again, let me say it again. I had it to 113, the whole thing. And then I hold down Alt and clicked on it, let go. And then I was able to drag the second half of that triangle over to 185.
what that means is there's going to be a gradual gradient. It's looking at color. So anything between 115 and 185 is going to pick up. So as you can see, if you look at your clouds in the background, you should not see any blue. Make sure you're clicking to preview so you can actually see it disappear. Did anyone not see it disappear?
Split now? Now I can drag it into 185. Now hold on Alt. And click on that little triangle you just moved. Click on, like that. Okay, now there's split those off. Now it should be two little things. Split now, now drag them. That one's in the main side. Hold on Alt. Select it once. Okay. Doing good. No. Yay. Good. Yay. 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 Get rid of some of the color. Now I'm another color. And click on the little triangle. Open that up. And put it so now I can do gradient between the two so that we can say where you want to do it. Okay. Shadow. We're going to grab this one, 113. You see the color changing there? Now hold on. I'm going to click on the triangle. Yeah, split it two. And that's what and now you can drag it to the middle of the top. Alright? Click OK.
Now I'm going to go ahead and also do another layer mask on this, because the reason I'm doing a layer mask is because I want to go in with my paintbrush and kind of delete some of the clouds that I think are too much. With that being said, I may not do it at 100%. With my paintbrush, I may come in here and turn my paintbrush down to only 40%, so I can come in here and get some of it, but it still fades in some of it also, depending on the opacity for your paintbrushes up towards the top. Again, I'm painting with black, so it disappears. Now, if I don't like that, I can always flip it back to white and bring it back. That's the nice thing about a mask. So again, I'm painting with black. I'm getting rid of some of the clouds that I think are too much. So the biggest thing that we're learning today is blending images. Blending images. All right, we're going to bring in the sailboat next. So once you're ready, go to File, Place, and place your sailboat. We're going to do that layer style again. And this time, instead of doing the left slider with the shadows, we're going to be doing the right slider. Place embedded. I forget what I did it to.
Is this sailboat like big for all the wires in there?
Are you pulling the white one or the?
The white one.
Yeah. So I'm double checking on the exact numbers here. Pull the white and you pull it to 135. And then you alt click on the white triangle so it splits in half. And you're going to take the second one over to about 170. And it's okay if there's some fading around the bottom part. We're going to get that with the paintbrush. So it goes from 135 to 170 with your white slider. So you probably did the black blend tool. So double click on your style layers again, layer styles, in that layer. You're dragging over the white arrow, not the black one this time. The white, slide that over to 135. Okay, now hold down your Alt key and click on it and separate it. And drag the other one over to, got it? Okay. 170. Okay, you're still going to see this little gray part down here from the sailboat layer that didn't get picked up. But I'm going to add a layer mask, go to my paintbrush, and get rid of it. I need to turn up my opacity back up because I'm still on 35%.
What are we doing to boost the one that's created?
It's because you're moving in your black and not the white side. We did shadows first, and now we're doing the highlights. So your black should be all the way over to the left, and then you're moving your white slider to 135. Alt click.
I'm going to be a sailboat layer behind
Yes.
the clouds.
Yes.
Okay.
Woo! This is going to be great. Yeah.
Now instead of this side we're looking at, we're going to move this side. See? And so we're going to move to 135. Now that's all. I'm going to click on it and straight up. And then click on alt. And go straight up. And you drag this thing over to 170. Now we're going to do the layer mask and take the black and get rid of that bottom layer. Did you come up? What are you trying to do?
I moved the sailboat up a little bit. We're just
Take you one?
wondering.
Yeah, you just move off that layer. Alright, we're going to do one more thing. Remind me to do the whole tutorial. I know there's actually some more. We're just going to add birds. Okay? And this is probably the easiest one. So I'm going to go to File, Place Embedded, Birds, Place. You ready for the amazing thing that happens right now? Where it says normal over here, you're going to go to multiply. What? Okay, multiply will not show white. Will not show white.
Oh, I hit the wrong button.
Mm-hmm.
Hit this multiply thing above. remind me, when I was editing the one that we turned in already.
Yeah.
And, did you see this picture of me carrying the laws that had?
Yeah.
It multiplied me, like, literally everything. It was only me and, like, thousands of me across the picture.
All right, to resize this, instead of doing the slider, another option is up here at the top where it says width and height in percentages. Right now it says 94% for me. I don't know about for you. In the width, I'm going to type 50, and then I'm going to hit the little chain link so then it automatically does the other 50. That's up in the top when your thing's selected. Width and height, I just change it to 50%, 50%. And then I'm able to move it.
No, they just took that base and not pretty sure.
Now let's have some of this pretty on that here. So I'm going to do some of top of that.
That's what I have. I'm very excited. Okay. So I know we do a lot today in LaserMask. Normally, you probably wouldn't see a layer mask on every single layer. That's why I said this one tutorial is like everything on the layer mask. So we don't have to do 27 tutorials on layer mask. Because there's a jillion ways to do layer mask. We did gradient. We did the blend tool like this. We did where we blacked out the whole thing and then we painted on top. So if you don't feel confident, which I didn't even after the first time I did today, I would recommend you doing part of it at home because this is going to help you blend your images together for your movie poster. Okay? So a lot of time when you're working in Photoshop, the biggest thing is either A, you're going to be selecting things. That's what we did last class, right? We selected different objects so we can move them around. That's the biggest thing. And the second thing is blending them together after you select them. So that's really the only two things I do with Photoshop because I did photo adjustments. Okay, that's going to be something that there's 6 million tutorials on, depending on what kind of photography that you do. That's, I mean, pick and choose. We could do stuff on photo, like adjustments, but I think people nowadays using like Instagram to understand what like contrast and brightness is and how to manipulate that. I think that's why I chose these 2 lessons for Photoshop because I think they're the most important. You're going to use them the most. You're going to select objects in Photoshop and you're going to blend them together. So if you can master those 2 things, you're on the right path. Okay. Probably leaps and bounds over other people that just took a basic class on how to use like the text tool. Okay, it is jumping quite a bit ahead of time, like here to here, all in one class. But again, I'm going to send you these tutorials. So at least the tutorial tonight. Okay. If you go to BD Collaborate, this video is going to be on there. So you can scan through it. I know they're a little rough. Okay, but you can go in and see. For the videos, I'll send you a reminder too. For some reason, Adobe has not caught it, but they have flip-flopped the videos. So if, let me bring this in over here. Okay, there's 5 videos, right? There's video 1, video 2, but video 3 jumps ahead of 1. So you need to watch 4 and then 3.
I was about ready to lose my mind earlier when I was working on this and I could not figure it out. So they mixed up these two in order. So I'll put the order of the videos so it makes sense to you, but I think you'll catch it once you start watching video 3 and you're like, I don't have a sailboat yet. All right. But Adobe has a lot of great tutorials. If you go to Adobe and then click on tutorials, depending on what program you're in, they give you all the materials that you need. So you don't have to start out from creating all this stuff, then being able to go through the tutorial, and then kind of getting to the final step. It gets you to that middle point, and then you can go on. There's beginner and experienced. I highly recommend, and they change these often. So like this year, they're brand new, and that's why this is the first time. Last year was cows. We did like a cow in a pastures for this like layer masking. And it was okay. This is 20 times better. So their tutorials are constantly changing, and even for me, I have to go back in and look and see what's going on, because if I don't, I'm not taking advantage of what Photoshop has done to make it better each year. If I'm still trying to, blend items the way I know how to do it 10 years ago, I'm doing it the hard way. So you're going to continually be teaching yourself, and this is a great resource page because it's free. Okay, even after you leave from college, go back. They have the files there. You can do it and kind of catch up on whatever trend is going on in Photoshop, because they know they like to add something new every other month or whatever they do. Sometimes they just move buttons around, which can totally throw you off too. So just make sure that's a good site and resource. So I'll put that in our email tonight about what we need to complete. Again, this is a big project. It's 100 points. So if you missed out on any assignment these first few times, those are only 30 points. You can recover from that. You can recover from that. You cannot recover from a 100-point project. Okay? Now, with that being said, if you turn something in, at the end of the year, I'll let you go back in and pick an assignment that you want to redo for a better grade, as long as you do it. Okay? That does not mean at the end of the year, if you did not do an assignment, you get to redo it for a better grade. Okay, that makes sense? You have to actually complete the assignment. Okay, now there's a difference in completing the assignment and turning in a blank page from Photoshop and saying that you completed it. Alright, I can tell if you actually tried to do the project or you were at 11:58 and you just turned in a blank Photoshop file and you're like, I don't know what happened, it all deleted. Nah, okay. I can tell that you uploaded at 11:59 and you were in panic mode. Do not wait till Sunday to do your projects. I cannot stress that. I'm not always available on Sunday. I'm pretty good because I have the alerts, but don't wait, because you're going to, especially for this project, it's a lot. You have to go out and get the images. You have to blend at least 5 images. Okay, 5 images. It's in the rubric. Okay, so that means you have a background and then you're bringing in 4 other images. Okay, Google examples of movie mashup. There's so many cool examples out there, some not so cool. But again, it kind of helps you inspire to what you're going to do. Make sure you're setting up your document first. Like we talked about, going in here to File, New, 11 by 17, I go to inches. Okay, so again, 11 by 17. This is also, it will be in the email tonight, so you kind of know. I'll have that all repeated again, so you have a reference to go back to. I do 300 resolution. Okay, I'm used to doing 300 just because I'm a printer. I print everything. So if you're not a printer, that's why we do 72. So that's why we're going to do both. 72 was the last one, resolution, right, on the I'd rather be. That's because you can only see 72 pixels on a computer. That's why I set it at 72. 300 is because when you print, you can do up to 300 dots per inch. Okay, I like to do 300 just because I might want to print it. I don't know. You can always go down from there, but that's the difference between 72 and 300. Okay, and there's sometimes you can do in between there, but I usually just do one or the other. Some people do different resolutions for different projects, but I'm strictly 72 or 300. Okay. Make sure you label your layers. Okay, I shouldn't go in your Photoshop file and see layer 1, layer 2, layer 3, layer 4, layer 5. I need you to get in the habit of going in there and renaming those layers. It's important, especially for web, when you're doing web, that if your layers are layered and you bring them into web, it's going to be so much easier for you. Okay? If they're not labeled, it's going to be a hot mess when you're trying to do like an app or web or anything along those lines. So if you get in the habit now, it's a lot easier to deal with later, because if you don't do it now, you're going to be kicking yourself later. I think that might be it. Question?